Here's a shocking reality check. 4 of the NBA's most promising young players are sitting at home unemployed, and it's entirely their own fault. With just 57 days remaining until the NBA season tips off, as of August 25th, 2025, virtually every franchise has locked in their core roster. Sure, teams are still scooping up the final pieces from free agency's leftover bin, but something unprecedented is happening in the restricted free agent market. We've got veteran names like Russell Westbrook, Ben Simmons, and Malik Beasley still hunting for contracts. That's normal. But here's where it gets controversial. 4 young, talented, restricted free agents have priced themselves completely out of the market. Jonathan Kuminga, Josh Giddey, Cam Thomas, and Quentin Grimes are all sitting unsigned, and their astronomical asking prices are the reason why. Now, before you jump into the comments defending these players, let's be clear about what restricted free agent means for newcomers to NBA contracts. These players' original teams can match any offer they receive from other franchises. It's supposed to be a safety net that keeps young talent with their drafting teams. Instead, it's become a prison of their own making. Some analysts argue these 4 simply aren't worth the money they're demanding. Others claim their projected market value is completely disconnected from reality. But here's the part most people miss. There's a specific psychology behind why each player remains teamless, and it reveals just how delusional the modern NBA player mindset has become. So let's rank these unsigned players by their level of delusion, from least to most unrealistic. And trust me, number 1 will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about player evaluation. 4. Jonathan Kuminga, delusion level 4 out of 10. Kuminga lands at the bottom of our delusion rankings, and honestly, that's being generous to the other 3 players on this list. His situation is complicated because his outrageous asking price isn't entirely self-inflicted. The 22-year-old forward has made it crystal clear he wants nothing to do with returning to the Golden State Warriors. Whether this stems from frustration with Steve Kerr's rotation decisions or his belief that the franchise offers no long-term opportunities, Kuminga has burned that bridge completely. His reported asking price? A staggering $30 million annually. To put this in perspective, Kuminga believes he deserves the same financial tier as players like Cade Cunningham and Scotty Barnes. Here's the problem with that comparison. Both Cunningham and Barnes aren't just starters. They're legitimate all-stars who've averaged over 20 points per game while carrying the highest usage rates on their respective teams. Kuminga has never been given that opportunity, and the numbers prove it. During the 2024 to 2025 season, he cracked the starting lineup in only 10 of his 47 games played. The previous season wasn't much better at 46 starts in 74 games, and before that, a measly 16 starts in 67 games. Golden State has never consistently viewed him as starter material. But here's where it gets controversial. Maybe they should have. Kuminga possesses legitimate talent, and unlike most 22-year-olds, he's already got an NBA championship ring on his finger. His long-term value could prove significant. For a team planning its post-dynasty future, it might actually make sense. 3. Josh Giddey, delusion level 6 out of 10. Giddey's situation is particularly frustrating because he actually delivered when given the opportunity, making his continued unemployment even more baffling. After being traded to the Chicago Bulls, Giddey was positioned as something of a franchise savior following the team's decision to trade away fan favorite Alex Caruso, a 6'7", 22-year-old point guard who can impact multiple facets of the game while scoring at league average efficiency. That's exactly the type of versatile player every modern NBA franchise covets. Sure, his first half of the 2024-25 season was rocky, but anyone who focuses on that period is missing the bigger picture entirely. During his hot stretch, Giddey posted absolutely ridiculous numbers. 21.2 points, 10.7 rebounds, and 9.3 assists per game while shooting an efficient 50% from the field and a scorching 46% from three-point range. More importantly, Chicago went 17-10 during that span and finished 9th in the Eastern Conference, their best positioning in years. Giddey posted career highs across multiple categories, including shooting, rebounding, assists, and steals. He transformed from a promising young role player into one of the Bulls' few legitimate franchise cornerstones. So what's his asking price for this production? You guessed it, $30 million annually. The result? Complete rejection from Chicago and virtually zero interest from around the league. Is $30 million too steep for Giddey's resume? Absolutely. But can he positively impact a starting lineup and contribute to winning basketball? The numbers suggest he absolutely can. 2. Cam Thomas, delusion level, 8 out of 10. The Cam Thomas saga represents everything wrong with modern player evaluation. And frankly, it's embarrassing for both sides involved. Brooklyn has pivoted into full rebuild mode, choosing to construct their future around rookies and cost-effective young players like Igor Demin, Drew Timme, and Drake Powell. It's a sensible approach for a franchise that needs to stockpile assets and preserve flexibility. Thomas, meanwhile, is coming off a season where he appeared in just 25 games, starting 23 of them, and posted career-high averages of 24 points, 3.8 assists, and 3.3 rebounds per game. Based on this limited sample size, his asking price has reportedly reached $30 million annually. Plus, he wants to be Brooklyn's undisputed franchise cornerstone with complete offensive freedom. Let's address the elephant in the room. Thomas can absolutely score. Nobody questions his ability to pull up from 30 feet or attack the rim with authority. Those highlight reel plays look fantastic on social media and generate plenty of buzz among casual fans. But here's where it gets controversial. Scoring ability alone doesn't justify superstar money in today's NBA. Beyond putting the ball in the basket, Thomas's game falls off a cliff. His playmaking remains limited, his rebounding contributions are minimal, and his defensive effort has been consistently criticized throughout his career. When you combine all these factors, it becomes clear why Brooklyn would rather preserve cap space to chase a legitimate superstar in 2 years rather than lock Thomas into a long-term deal based on 25 games of production. Flashy offensive highlights might generate Instagram likes, but they won't earn anyone a top-tier contract. And Thomas is about to learn that lesson the hard way. 1. Quentin Grimes, delusion level. 10 plus out of 10. If you want to witness the absolute peak of free agency delusion, look no further than Quentin Grimes. His situation is so outrageous, it deserves its own category. Grimes' 2024-25 campaign began quietly with the Dallas Mavericks. He occasionally cracked the starting rotation and appeared headed for modest career improvements in points, rebounds, assists, and shooting efficiency. Standard development for a young role player. Nothing more. Then came the trade to Philadelphia, and everything changed dramatically. With the 76ers roster completely decimated by injuries, Grimes was suddenly thrust into a primary role out of pure necessity. What followed was a 28-game stretch that can only be described as otherworldly. 21.9 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 4.5 assists per game. He played so effectively that Philadelphia eventually benched him to preserve their draft lottery positioning. Now, here's where the delusion reaches astronomical levels. Grimes is demanding $30 million annually to serve as Philadelphia's fourth scoring option behind Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, and Joel Embiid, assuming the injury-prone trio can actually stay healthy. Let's be brutally honest about what happened in Philadelphia. Grimes is undoubtedly talented, potentially even above average in the right situation. He profiles as a solid 3-and-D wing who can contribute to winning basketball. But 28 games for a team actively trying to lose games is hardly the foundation for demanding superstar money. If Grimes had posted those same numbers for a legitimate contender like Boston or Houston, we'd be having a completely different conversation. Instead, his case represents the absolute pinnacle of free agency delusion. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to discuss. Grimes' brief hot streak and the hype surrounding it should probably be dismissed entirely. He's a rotation player demanding franchise cornerstone money based on the most misleading sample size imaginable. And this is the part most people miss. This entire situation reveals a fundamental disconnect between player perception and market reality that's becoming increasingly common in today's NBA. So here's my controversial take. These four players deserve to remain unsigned until they accept market value contracts. The NBA's salary structure exists for a reason, and allowing players to dictate their own worth based on cherry-picked statistics and inflated self-evaluation sets a dangerous precedent. What do you think? Are these players justified in their asking prices? Or are they simply victims of their own delusion? Should teams cave to these demands? Or is the market correctly valuing their contributions? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I have a feeling this one's going to spark some heated debate.